Alright guys, it's been like 6 months and you haven't heard from us, and we're sorry about that. We went on a little bit of a hiatus there for a little while. We're past most of it now. We're just been really busy. Don't really know how to explain it. It hasn't really been YouTube or social media of any kind. It's just been stuff in our real life.
It started kind of with my mental health, I guess. Of course, as you guys are well aware, we took a little bit of a break at the end of the year because it got really busy. In fact, as I always say, that was probably the busiest I've ever been in my entire life.
And hopefully won't get that busy ever again.
Yes. So even though I took a break from YouTube and all that, it wasn't an actual break. So I think what happened was I finally got to the point where I just needed to stop doing anything and just be a human being for a little while. It kind of started when I was in New York. We took a trip to New York in April. We wanted to go see the solar eclipse. Of course, that ended up not being what we wanted it to be. It was cloud cover that day. So we were gonna try and record a video of our first outing with the camper because we actually took it out. Upon taking it out, I tried to do video on the way up and actually do the video work, but it didn't really pan out. And then finally we were trying to do video of at least it getting dark and light again from the solar eclipse. And in the middle of trying to fiddle with a camera, as it was getting darker and darker, there was a moment where I just paused and I looked at Bam and I was like, forget it, it's fine. Like, we just need to live in the moment right now. That's what we need to do. And finally we just set aside everything. We left the camera alone, which it did record a little bit of footage, but it was auto adjusting, so I don't think it's quite what it was supposed to be. And that mood kind of followed me all the way back to Kentucky. I don't know, I wasn't in the mood to record. I wasn't in the mood to edit. I just wanted to exist. I think I was dealing with some pretty major depression during that time as well. I finally was starting to come out of it, but about the time I was starting to come out of it, his grandmother actually came into town to visit. We made the decision that instead of trying to come back and spend a lot of time on video work and still try to go see her, that we were gonna focus on hanging out with her while she was in town. She was in town for almost a month and a half, and after she left, we got to a point where we had a lot of other things we needed to do to get ready for another vacation to New York. And we just had a lot of stuff we had to do with the truck and the camper to get it ready for another trip out. We didn't make any videos at that point. It wasn't worth it. Okay, we were like, all right, when we come back, that's when we'll start going back to video work. So we come back from that vacation, and 2 weeks later, I had to go on a personal trip to North Carolina to go visit my dad for a little while. There was not enough time to try and bring a comeback video in that time frame, so upon like the last week before I was going out to North Carolina, it was just like, forget it. I'll do it when we get back. We'll be all done with everything and we can get started again. So here we are, getting started again. That being said, while we were gone, we did end up doing some work to the camper, actually.
We kind of had to. You kind of glossed over it, but I can go in more detail. A lot of the stuff we did is a fix it for now. It's not a permanent solution. So if you see something that you don't like, or you see something that looks hideous or ghetto, for lack of a better term, bear with us. We do plan to do a complete overhaul, basically bring this thing down to the metal frame and build it back up. Yeah, but just not right now. Yeah,
like he said, we were trying to just get it up to New York. I did try to record some footage of it and make a video of it, but at the point that we were at, we had so much footage. Like, I overloaded one of my drive spaces trying to put all this footage on there to edit later when we got back from New York. It was craziness. There's a good chance those actually aren't going to become videos, but I will show you some of the shots right now as we continue talking about what happened. Before we go more in depth about what we did to the camper, I will say that I was the one who discovered it was a lot worse than it was. As you guys know, we had some water damage that we had to repair.
That was cool. We were expecting that. We were happy with that.
We were fine with that. We wanted to go get that real quick fixed before we went to our first trip to New York, and I walked in here and I walked to the other side of the bedroom, and there was literally a standing puddle of water on the nightstand on that side. And that was the moment that I realized that this is going to be a lot worse than we originally thought it was going to be.
Instead of just being one half of the camper, it ended up being the whole front end, basically. We even had to replace some of the frame inside the walls up front. We basically redid the whole front panel. We took the whole outside skin off of the front and had put that back in. That was a bit of a process to do around midnight right before we left. We didn't really have a whole lot of time for a lot of this stuff, and it kind of pushed right up against the time that was time to leave. We were putting the front panel together and the wood pieces in around
The day before we had to leave.
The day before we had to leave.
It was when we were finishing up the last bit of it, and we had to work that night.
The caulk wasn't even set yet when we went on our trip. Like,
yeah.
That's how close to go time we ended up pushing it. Some of the stuff we wanted to do, we didn't even get time to do before we had to go out and come back, and that was the jacks. I wanted to replace the stabilizing jacks. They weren't a requirement, but we didn't have time to do it before we even left. We did get it done before our second trip out with it.
As well as check the brakes, which were...
Yeah, someone decided to cut the wires on both axles, so we didn't have any trailer brakes this entire time. We thought we had trailer brakes.
Yeah, that first trip, we did not have brakes on the camper.
And the difference that trailer brakes makes on something this big is phenomenally, like, I can't even explain it to you. Having brakes is a huge night and day difference. I'm just glad the truck was big enough that it could handle it. And that's one of the reasons we got a truck that's bigger than what is truly needed for this size camper, is so we do have room for error, and it does help us when we make mistakes.
That being said, there is still a lot of work that needs to be done with the camper, which is still in our plans. We still plan to have a complete overhaul of the camper, which is coming very soon. We're gonna take the cold months to our advantage and hopefully get most of it done. It may be not pretty, but at least rebuilt. That being said, there's a lot of changes coming up in general. We're not exactly 100% sure what direction our life is gonna go at this point. We've got a lot of work to do between now and then, so we have time to think about that.
Yeah, we are sure about one thing, and that is that we're not gonna be doing anything with the property more than we already have. We didn't finish the property rental series the way we wanted it to, but there's not gonna be any more. Sorry to tell you. We got rid of the property at this point. One of the neighbors actually was a family member of mine, and they expressed tremendous interest in it, and we weren't sure that that's where we needed to be anyway. We just felt like we hit a lot of roadblocks with that property, and trying to listen to the universe and things and trying to figure out what our path is going to be, we just felt like it wasn't really the path for us, but it was a great path for them. So we ended up selling it to them for basically what we had into it. So I don't feel like that was a loss. I feel like it was kind of like a level investment that took our money forward in a way. So we're not going to have any more property renos.
Yep, property reno is done. That being said, we aren't going to give you guys any more like details, like try to be like, hey, this is our plan, hey, this is our plan, because every time we do it feels like something changes.
And we're tired of telling you guys one thing and doing another, or changing back and forth, and that's not what we want to be. We want to be consistent, so we're going to consistently just not say anything until after it's done. Yeah,
until we know for a fact that's what we're doing. So you'll know whenever we are sure what we're doing. That being said, there are things that are definitely going to happen. As you know, there is camper renovation coming up, because this camper is going to be a huge part of our future. The traveling thing is still a huge necessity. We've got family in Tennessee, Kentucky, New York, Michigan, North Carolina, California. So, and lots of friends and stuff everywhere too. So we need to do something so that we don't waste any more time with anybody.
The camper's our way to bridge that gap without spending a bunch of money on airline tickets or hotel stays or something like that. And it's something that we can make our home away from whatever home is, or is the home. Yeah, the camper is a huge investment, but it's gonna pay dividends in the end.
Yeah, so stay tuned definitely for us renovating the camper. We're literally going to tear it down all the way to the frame. Obviously, there's going to be some downsizing still involved, so we're still doing a lot of downsizing, and I guess just hang out, see what direction we go. So, like I said, the future is unknown. We're just kind of living the life and doing whatever we gotta do.
We're gonna play it by ear, and we're not gonna make any promises until we know for sure. With all that, I think you're about caught up with everything that's going on.
And we're back. Like,
we're back.
Actually back.
No more hiatus.
We still are leaving our Christmases though. Our Christmases will be off. You should be taking your Christmases off too.
Spend time with your family.
Yeah.
That's important.
Or whatever your holiday of choice is, of course.
Absolutely.
So that being said, I think that's everything to get you guys caught up. And I guess we'll see you in the next one.
See ya.
See ya. Bye.
I'm staying strong, need to move on to be what I want. I'll keep dreaming on. I'm staying strong, need to move on to be what I want. I'll keep dreaming.